Chapter 1493. I don't have any special places to go. Recently I've been busy revising. The mental pressure is indeed not small. After the exam I'll rest for a period of time if I can rest well. You can rest abroad. Is there any country you want to go to? I haven't considered it yet. Usually, when I see my parents flying all over the world, I'm no longer interested in the various small gifts they bring back. Shirniange held her chin with one hand. Speaking of which, after the college entrance examination she should still have a chance to go out with Qin sighting, right? On the other hand, grandmother has passed away for more than 10 years. Even now, you still refuse to find an old partner. Every time my mother returns to China she tells you about this. Do you really plan to stay alone until you grow old? Shirniange blinked and asked with a smile. Scram. Aren't I already old? I'm already in my 60s. Why would I need an old partner? Do you really want me to find you a step-grandmother? Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Shirniange helped her grandfather put the meat he had cut into a small plate and marinated it. She then looked at him and said, My parents have been taking over the Shir family's business for so many years. These years they've really been thriving. There's no need to worry about anything at home. All these years, you've been researching various medical experiments, but you've never considered yourself. So what if you're old? It's not like I asked you to pick up young girls like young people. You can find yourself a spiritual partner when you're old. Who says that you can't meet true love at the age of 60? If you delay any longer, when you're 70, you'll probably have to find a young and beautiful auntie to steal your money. Her words angered her grandfather so much that he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head. Little girl, what are you thinking about every day? Now that you've grown up and become enlightened, you actually dare to talk about true love with an old man like me. Do you know love? I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just thinking that my grandfather is already in his 60s, but he's still so young, handsome, and elegant. It's not like you can't be so lonely all the time. Shirniange quickly changed the topic of whether she loved him or not. She was afraid that her recent thoughts would be discovered by her grandfather. Her parents were very open and casual with her education, but her grandfather would be very strict. If he knew, he might not be able to explain it to Teacher Zhao. Teacher Zhao would probably be strict with her from now on. He might even force her to separate her seat from Qin's sighting. Grandfather didn't like to talk about these things. After cutting for a while he said, Let's talk about it later. I don't have any thoughts now. Shirniange didn't say anything more and continued to help him in the kitchen. When it was finally time for dinner, Grandpa asked her about her recent studies. He also said that he told Teacher Zhao to ask the class monitor and some of the students with good grades to help her out. He also asked if there were any students who often helped her with her studies. After all, the class monitor, Lin Su, was in the top 10 of the school year. However, to Shirniange, the person who was affected the most was Qin's sighting. Lin Tanghe. And I'll find some time to have a meal with you. Before the college entrance examination, grandfather will help you thank him. There's no need. Grandfather, we children are all afraid when we see each other's parents. Are you going to see him? Is this a reward or a scare? What? Could it be a boy? Who said that the person who tutors me must be a girl? Did you specially tell Teacher Zhao? Grandfather thought about it carefully and realized that he had missed this point. However, seeing that she didn't seem to be in a relationship, he nodded. That's right. Forget it. It's fine as long as your grades can be raised. It's not long before the college entrance examination. You'll be able to do it in 2 more months. Shirniange nodded. At this moment, Zhao Xiaoqing sent a message. She lowered her head to chat with Zhao Xiaoqing. Who are you talking to? Grandfather asked with a smile. My classmate, a girl sitting behind me. She's celebrating her birthday tomorrow. She asked me if I had time to go out for dinner tonight. Shirniange answered frankly. Grandfather raised his brows. A girl? Not a boy? She's really a girl. Shirniange raised her phone to show him the contents of the message. Grandfather did not say that he wanted to see it, but his gaze still inadvertently swept over. He originally believed her, but seeing her expression of, I'm really chatting with a girl. There's no messy boy, he chuckled and said, if there's anything between you and any of your classmates, remember to tell me. This so-called situation was referring to her puppy love or something. She answered vaguely and then lowered her head to continue texting Zhao Xiaoqing. Have you prepared a gift? Grandfather asked. Shirniange thought for a moment. I'll go to the shopping mall near the school to take a look during the lunch break tomorrow. She had already known that Zhao Xiaoqing's birthday was coming up. There were so many students in a class, and every few days, there would be a classmate celebrating her birthday. However, she, who was not familiar with her, would at most say happy birthday. However, after she skipped a grade to her third year, her best friend was Zhao Xiaoqing, so she had actually prepared a gift long ago. Zhao Xiaoqing had learned dance since she was young. In the past few years of high school, she had temporarily stopped all her dance classes because of her heavy studies. However, she still said that she wanted to apply for an art school in the future and continue learning ballet. Therefore, Shiniange bought a ballet swan dress that was suitable for Zhao Xiaoqing's size. The price was not too expensive, but it still cost more than 3,000 yuan. This price was actually a little expensive for everyone who was an ordinary high school student. Even if she said that the dress was only 300 yuan, Zhao Xiaoqing would not believe her, nor would she accept it easily. Thus she hesitated. Should she take the time to buy something else tomorrow? However, she did not know what to buy. She couldn't possibly buy all kinds of revision questions for her, could she? Zhao Xiaoqing would probably kill her. She recalled the little crystal doll that Lin Su had wanted to give her. It seemed that Zhao Xiaoqing also liked these cute little things. Shiniange silently noted it down in her heart and decided to take a look tomorrow. Grandfather still had a lot of things to do in the laboratory in the hospital. After eating, he left. The next day, when Shiniange woke up, she saw that Uncle Qin had arrived. Uncle Qin sent her to school, which happened to be a little earlier than her. She walked around some gift shops outside the school. She bought a pair of cute pink and blue bears. Below the bears was a music box. It was worth more than 100 yuan and was very exquisite. As for the little swan dress, she planned to give it to Zhao Xiaoqing as a graduation gift after the college entrance examination. Chapter 1494. At night, Zhao Xiaoqing asked everyone to go to the KTV near the school. Although Zhao Xiaoqing's personality was very docile and simple, because she was too quiet and always sat in the back row, she did not have many friends who were especially close to her. There were only 4 or 5 of them. Including Shiniange and Hao Xiuxia, who quarreled with Zhao Xiaoqing all day, she was the only one who went to the KTV together. Why didn't I see Almighty Qin today? Nian Nian, weren't you very close to Almighty Qin some time ago? Jin Shui, who was usually on good terms with Zhao Xiaoqing, suddenly said this after entering the KTV and seeing that Shiniange was helping the waiter distribute the fruits. It clearly sounded like a normal question, but for some reason Shiniange heard a hint of sarcasm in his tone. She raised her eyes to look at Jin Shui. Zhao Xiaoqing heard this and quickly came over to smooth things over. Xiao Shui, don't spout nonsense. Nian Nian and Almighty Qin are desk mates. It's normal for them to communicate a lot. They're both single. Don't say anything that will cause people to misunderstand. So I misunderstood. Jin Shui looked surprised. I thought Nian Nian and Almighty Qin were together. After all, I saw her go to and from school with Almighty Qin several times. However, I saw her following behind Almighty Qin several times. I think so too. With Almighty Qin's personality, he probably doesn't plan to fall in love in high school. Also, I remember that Nian Nian is going to study medicine. She's indeed not on the same path as Almighty Qin. Shiniange put down the fruit platter in her hand. Zhao Xiaoqing knew Shiniange's temper. She would either ignore everything, but if it involved Qin sighting, she would listen. She didn't know if she would be angry, but she had to prevent any conflicts from happening. She quickly pulled her back. Nian Nian, let's go order songs. As she spoke, she pulled Shiniange away and explained softly, don't be angry, Nian Nian. I'm only familiar with these few people in class, but I've never told them about you and Almighty Qin. I know. I don't blame you. In fact, Shiniange did not take it to heart, but Jin Shui's tone earlier was really asking for a beating. With her temper, she would accept it when she should, but she would not easily ignore it when she shouldn't. Just from these few sentences, it could be seen that Jin Shui and her friends must have been gossiping about him a lot. She didn't mind being discussed, but it wouldn't do if it involved Qin sighting. Hao Xiuxia was still eating by the side. He did not notice that there seemed to be a dispute between the girls. After Shiniange was pulled away, he did not take it to heart and went to the other side. On the other hand, the girl who had been sitting with Jin Shui took the opportunity to come over and ask, Nian Nian, do you like Almighty Qin? Do you need us to give you some advice? Let's see how we can woo our Adonis. Shiniange glanced at her. Isn't it Xiaoqing's birthday today? Why are you guys paying so much attention to me? Aren't we all classmates from class 6? Usually, you and Xiaoqing are the closest and rarely interact with the other girls. It's rare for us to have a chance to sing karaoke together. Just treat it as getting to know each other, the girl said as she grabbed a handful of melon seeds and ate them in front of her. Shinianj smiled indifferently. And we know each other. At least after tonight I'll definitely remember your names. I won't be like before when I can't even remember your surnames. The girl holding the melon seeds was stunned by Shinianj's attitude that she had never taken them seriously. Seeing that Shinianj's gaze did not seem to be good at gossiping, she held it in for a long time and did not say anything. She turned around and returned to Jin Shue's side with the melon seeds. Almighty Qin is usually very popular with the girls in our school. You know, there are many girls in our class who have a crush on him. Ever since they saw you sitting next to him, many of them felt their hearts ache. Even if you didn't do anything to them, you're already the invisible opposite. Don't take it to heart. Zhao Xiaoqing had only come out to celebrate her birthday. She didn't want these friends to be unhappy. Don't worry, it's fine. I didn't warn them. As long as they don't run in front of me and say those nonsense, I'll forget about this after leaving the KTV. Shinianj waved her hand and stood up to go over. Come. I'll choose a song. When Hao Xiosha heard that Shinianj was about to sing, he quickly came over and insisted on singing with her. In the end, Zhao Xiaoqing pulled him aside. It'll be late by the time we go back. Does Almighty Qin know that you're coming out with us tonight? Zhao Xiaoqing asked. Didn't he go to the provincial education department for a meeting with the principal today? He's the only student in the city. He hasn't been in school all day today. I didn't tell him. Shinianj continued to poke at the screen in front of her without looking up. The provincial education department is in High City. It's not far from here. The meeting must have ended by now. You can ask him to pick you up. Zhao Xiaoqing knew how much Shinianj cherished and was careful about Qin Sighting's feelings for him. She kindly suggested, you can also use my birthday as an excuse to ask him to come and join in the fun. Anyway, if I appear, he definitely won't give me face. However, if you ask him to come, I think Almighty Qin will come. I don't think so. He went out with the principal during the day. The principal and the people from the education department will definitely have a meal together. It can be considered a social gathering. Even if he comes back, it won't be too early. If he's tired, go back and rest. It's better not to come to school. Shinianj had already chosen a song. After speaking, she took the microphone. She was more open in front of her good friends. Although she was not a professional singer, she definitely would not be unpleasant. After singing a song, she gave Zhao Xiaoqing enough face. She sat back on the sofa and picked up a glass of juice with one hand and her phone with the other. Suddenly, she saw a message from Qin Sighting. Qin Sighting, you didn't go home? Shinianj's eyes lit up. She suddenly turned to look at Hao Xiosha, who was sitting by the side and nibbling on a watermelon. Did you send the news that we came to KTV for Zhao Xiaoqing's birthday to the class group? Yes. Hao Xiosha looked at her strangely. Aren't you in the group? I blocked the group messages. I didn't see it, she answered and lowered her head to look at the message. It had been sent 2 minutes ago. She quickly replied, and I'm going back soon. Did you go to the education department today? Did it go well? Can you go back to school tomorrow? After sending it, Qin Sighting did not reply immediately. 10 minutes later, her phone vibrated again. She picked it up and saw a message from Qin Sighting. I'm at the KTV at the entrance. Chapter 1495. At first, Shinianj thought that she had seen wrongly. She took a closer look at the message displayed on her phone screen and stood up with a bang. What's wrong? Hao Xiosha was about to speak to her when she suddenly stood up and almost flipped the fruit plate in his hand. He quickly pressed it down and turned to look at her in surprise. I'm going out for a while. Shinianj did not explain and walked out, leaving a large group of people sitting in the KTV room with confused expressions. Jin Shui and the female classmate from earlier were still sitting there. When she saw Shinianj's dazed expression and saw that she had left, she directly said in a voice that everyone could hear, Do you really think that just because your family is rich and powerful, you can get everything? She's been thinking about Almighty Qin for so long, and she's still sitting next to him. If it weren't for the fact that Almighty Qin couldn't be bothered to argue with her, he would have chased her to another seat long ago. She really thinks that she has a sense of existence by his side. As soon as she finished speaking, the few girls present who also had some admiration for Qin Sighting but had never dared to show it remained silent. They did not interrupt, but they all held the intention to watch the show. Zhao Xiaoqing frowned. Jin Shui, there's no need for you to say that, right? I didn't say anything. By the way, Zhao Xiaoqing, you usually sit behind Shinianj and Almighty Qin. You're the closest to them. Usually, Shinianj smiles mischievously and pretends to be cute by Almighty Qin's side, right? Don't you feel disgusted? Jean Shui hugged her arms as she sat on the sofa and snorted disdainfully. No, I only saw that Almighty Qin treats Nian Yan quite well. Zhao Xiaoqing didn't want to make everyone unhappy because of this topic, but she really felt that there was no need for everyone to treat Shiniange as an enemy just because she was sitting by Qin Siding's side. Shiniange was really very good. At the very least, among the classmates she had met since she was young, no matter if they had good family conditions or not, it wasn't that there were none like Shiniange, but it was rare. Tiske, why are you speaking up for her? Is it because you've been hanging out with her for so long that she always treats you to meals and buys you gifts? Are you hugging her thighs now? Jean Shui looked at her coldly. Zhao Xiaoqing's expression instantly darkened. Before she could say anything, Hao Xiuxia, who was busy eating, suddenly put down the fruit plate and said loudly, "What the F***ck are you talking about?" No one expected that the fatty, who usually didn't care about anything, would suddenly speak. He was a boy after all. Jean Shui was shocked when he suddenly spoke in such a tone. Zhao Xiaoqing sits at the same table as me. I can see how she usually interacts with others. I can also see what kind of person Shi Niange is. Also, so what if the Shi family was rich and powerful? She had never done such a thing. Xiao Qin had always been fair and had never taken advantage of anyone. How also the gifts you gave her all here. I don't care about other people's matters. Shi Niange's gifts are at most 20 to 30 yuan more expensive in the future. How did she show any sense of superiority? Nonsense. How did little Qin learn from these people? If you don't know how to speak, don't for a moment before looking at him in surprise. Jean Shui looked at the gifts piled up by the side. Continued nibbling on his watermelon. At first she felt speechless, but then she had already walked out of the KTV. The eldest daughter of the Shi family, prepared herself worth hundreds of millions, telling herself to calm down. Best friend a gift of more than 100 yuan. Your friendship is really suspicious. Qin Siding wasn't in school today, a gift of more than 100 yuan might be a few days' worth of pocket money. Given his relationship with the other students, beggars would be more than the fact that she heard that he never participated in any activities other than official school activities usually treated. He had never appeared on any of his class and was about to speak when Zhao Xiaoqing quickly reached out to pull him. KTV in the middle of the night. Stood up and was about to speak when Zhao Xiaoqing quickly reached out to pull him, standing beside the huge microphone statue in front of the KTV. Everyone loves. He was as cold and tall as a jade tree. She said that she doesn't need everyone to like her. Shiniange smiled. What's going on? Be bothered to be nervous. It's my birthday today. She ran over and called out harmonious. Almighty Qin. When Qin Siding heard the voice and sat turned to look at her. He picked up the fruit plate expressionless, but his expression was when he saw her jogging over. Jean Shui and the others were just casually saying it ran over with a smile. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, they stopped to him again. After a while, Jean Shui stood up again and said, "All right, this doesn't affect my friendship with Zhao Xiaoqing." Qin Siding looked at her. Hasn't Shi Niange already left? His lips suddenly curled up and he smiled at Shi Niange. It's fine if she leaves. When he smiled, his eyes were very gentle. Hao Xiuxia ignored them. The street lamps fell into his eyes as though there was a sea of stars. Then he glared at Zhao Xiaoqing as though he was scolding her for making friends. It doesn't matter what other people's rumors are. Did not expect that singing karaoke would turn out like this. As long as I can see you smile like this once a day, I'll be very satisfied. Everyone was quite busy now. She had run too fast and could not help but cough twice when she ran behind. There were only a few people she was familiar with. Patted her back. She was busy revising and did not have time to come out for social and held back her cough. She was only raised her hand and patted her face as though to calm herself down. In private, she had never spoken much. And said, "Why did you suddenly come here? Karaoke together would cause so much nonsense to reach Shi Niange's ears." Qin Siding she was really impressed. Seeing that Jean Shui and the others had gone to order songs, then why did you suddenly come here so late at night? Gave up her seat and turned to sit next to Hao Xiuxia. She suddenly pointed at the KTV behind her. Grape from the fruit plate. By the way, Zhao Xiaoqing and the others are still inside. I think they're really thinking too much. Since you're already here, why are you standing outside? It seems like only Nian Yan is qualified to be with someone like Almighty Qin. If you don't want to sing karaoke, sit down and rest for a while. Sit down and chat. Eat something. You definitely didn't eat well when you went out for a meeting with the school leaders during the day. Qin Siding still did not speak, but his eyes were looking at her. Shi Niange was about to say something when her phone suddenly rang. She quickly picked up the phone. "Hello, grandfather? You went out to play with your classmates? And I'm outside. Didn't I say yesterday that I have a good friend's birthday tonight?" Shi Niange looked at Qin Siding in front of her and said to the other end of the phone, "Grandfather, did you go to my place?" "No, I'm still in the lab. I looked at the time and remembered that you said you had an event tonight. I called to confirm your safety." "Haha, I'm definitely safe. We're all good friends. Don't worry." "What time are you going back? Do you need a car to pick you up?" "No need. I'll take a taxi back. I'm hanging up, grandfather. I'll go to your place again this weekend." She put down the phone and put it in her pocket. She raised her head and saw that Qin Siding was still looking at her. Her eyes were bright. "Almighty Qin, Are you passing by or did you come here on purpose? Where are you going so late? Qin Siding said, I'm not passing by. Oh, it's not the road. She nodded, but just as she was about to say something, she suddenly stopped. Not passing by? Does that mean he came here on purpose? What did he come here for? She looked at him again, but Zhao Shaoqing sent her a message asking if she had left or was outside. She took a look at her phone and replied, Wait for me for a while. I haven't left. Then she said, Almighty Qin, are you going in? Who are they? He asked. Those in our class. You know that I skipped a grade and my relationship with the boys and girls in my class is very average. After all, I've been lacking classmates for 2 years. I'm already very lucky to know you and Shaoqing. I'm not very familiar with the others, but it's Xiaoqing's birthday, so I played with them here for a while. As she spoke, she reached out to pull his arm, wanting him to go in with her. However, just as she was about to touch Qin Siding's arm, she quickly stopped. What was her relationship with him? They were usually desk mates, so it was normal for them to accidentally touch each other's arms. It was also normal for her to grab his hand and help him bandage it when his hand was injured. However, it didn't seem right for her to pull him over at the entrance of the KTV in the middle of the night. She chuckled again. Ihi, do you want to come in and have a seat? Qin Siding's beautiful brows moved slightly as he looked at her hand. After 2 seconds, he gently raised his arm and let his arm touch her palm. It was almost summer. The weather at night was not cold, but it was slightly cooler than during the day. He was wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt and casual pants. When he leaned in, her palm felt the slight coolness of his skin. This warmth passed through her palm and instantly entered her heart. Shi Nianj suddenly recalled the feeling of Qin Siding holding her hand a few times. That indescribable throbbing. Right now, it was even more so because he had taken the initiative to offer his arm. She directly held his arm, and the two of them walked toward the entrance of the KTV. When she held his arm, she was still hesitating whether she should place her hand on his forearm or raise it to maintain a polite distance. Before she could think of an answer, a few drunk men walked out of the KTV's entrance. They walked in a hurry and bumped into her. She staggered and leaned toward Qin Siding. Not to mention that her hands were completely pressed against his, she almost bumped into his embrace when he turned his body to the side and brought her along to make way. Qin Siding clearly looked dissatisfied as he glanced at the few people who had already staggered away. He lowered his head to look at her. Are you okay? Yes. Of course there was something. She actually leaned into his arms again. Shi Nianj pretended to be calm and retreated from his arms. She continued to hold his arm. It's fine. Those people drank too much. It's too common in such a place. It's fine. Let's go in. When they walked in, Shi Nianj's hand was holding his, and her palm was pressed against his arm. In fact, the main entrance of the KTV was still some distance away from the private room on the 2nd floor. In fact, they could take the elevator up, but it was only the 2nd floor. Shi Nianj could not bear to shorten the time they spent walking together, so she simply walked up the stairs in the middle of the KTV with him. As the two of them walked up step by step, Shi Nianj lowered her head to look at Qin Siding's casual pants. Why were his legs so long? Usually when he wore his school uniform she knew that he was tall and had long legs. However, the school uniform did not particularly accentuate his figure. Now that she saw him wearing such casual pants he really looked good. The Qin family's background was too strong. It was impossible for Qin Siding to debut and become a celebrity. Otherwise, if he was dug out by some talent scout in the future, he would definitely become an especially handsome and popular celebrity. However, if he really became a celebrity she would have too many love rivals. Just thinking about it made her nervous. Qin Siding's arm moved. She looked up at him and saw that he had stopped after walking up to the 2nd floor. He lowered his eyes to look at her. What's wrong with your hand? Earlier she had suddenly tightened her grip. It was because she thought that there were too many love rivals. She did not expect her body to react first and actually tighten her grip. Shi Nianj blinked and changed the topic. You haven't said it yet. Why did you suddenly come here? Chapter 1497. Qin Siding looked at her nervously pinching his arm and said, Didn't you say you missed me? Shi Nianj's expression slowly changed from dazed to surprise and then to some kind of emotional crack. She said she missed him? When? In a daze, she seemed to remember that in the last message she had sent him, there really seemed to be the words I miss you. In the end, her expression turned to look at his face. Qin Siding did not say anything more and gestured for her to continue holding his arm. She obediently continued to hold his arm and walk forward. Which one? He asked, glancing in as he reached the doors of the first few boxes. That one, 206. She pointed with her eyes. Then he went over. When she opened the door and entered, Shirniange was hesitating about whether she should put down her hand when Qin Sighting had already walked in. She was also a little confused as she followed him in. The moment Qin Sighting's figure appeared in front of the door, Jin Shui, who was singing with the microphone, stopped. Her expression was surprised as she looked in the direction of the door in disbelief. She held the microphone and stood there, turning into a statue. The others also looked at Qin Sighting in surprise, especially when they saw that Shirniange was holding his arm and entering with him. Although there were not many people in the private room, their gazes were different. The fruit pit in Hao Xiuxia's hand almost fell to the ground. Zhao Xiaoqing was surprised. Almighty Qin? Holy *T. What's going on? A brother who was close to Hao Xiuxia muttered. Hao Xiuxia expressed that he did not know either. Usually he sat behind Qin Sighting and Shirniange and knew that the two of them were quite close because they were desk mates. However, he did not expect that. Was this considered publicly announcing their relationship? No, when did they start? Not only were the two boys stunned, but the other girls' expressions were also interesting. At first, Shirniange couldn't believe that he would go in with her just like that. However, there were many people here, so she restrained her expression and said generously, "Go sit over there. There's an empty seat over there." Qin Sighting did not refuse. His gaze landed on Zhao Xiaoqing, who was still sitting there in surprise. "Happy birthday. I came in a hurry. I'll give you a gift later." "Ah, no need. Almighty Qin, you actually came. This is a big gift for me, okay? This is too much face." Zhao Xiaoqing quickly stood up and gestured for the others to quickly move to the side and let Almighty Qin and Shirniange sit there. The few of them were silent and did not speak. When they received Zhao Xiaoqing's gaze, they thought for a moment and stood up to move aside. After all, it was Qin Sighting. Although this crown prince was usually quiet and did not like to fight in school, he was indeed the most difficult person to provoke in the entire school. He had the biggest background, so they had to avoid him. Qin Sighting did not say much. Shirniange pulled him over to sit and he walked over to sit down. He was a clean and good-looking young man. He was tall and had long legs. When he sat down, he naturally stretched his legs forward. He was dressed in simple, light-colored casual clothes. He did not look as strict as when he wore his school uniform in school, but he still exuded an unapproachable coldness. However, this coldness seemed to exclude Shirniange. He was not too cold to Shirniange. Zhao Xiaoqing felt that since Shirniange was here, there was no need for her to join in the fun. However, today was her birthday and Almighty Qin was also here. She had to go over and say a few words, so she walked over and gave Shirniange a look. She meant for her and her Almighty Qin to sit here quietly and not go anywhere else. Then she asked, "Almighty Qin, do you want to drink or drink? Don't we still have exams tomorrow?" Qin Sighting asked. "Ah, yes." Zhao Xiaoqing was stunned by the question. However, there had been exams every few days. They were already used to it and were almost numb to it. "Then why are you drinking?" Qin Sighting saw that there were a few new bottles of mineral water on the coffee table. He took one over. "Go play. Don't worry about me. I'll drink this." "Oh, okay." Almighty Qin's aura was too strong. Zhao Xiaoqing nodded repeatedly and did not dare to ask any more questions. She turned around and left. Jin Shui and the girl from before stopped singing. They sat back on the sofa and occasionally glanced in this direction. However, Qin Sighting clearly did not turn his gaze in that direction. He only looked at Shirniange, who was sitting beside him but did not seem to have returned to normal. He casually opened a bottle of mineral water and handed it to her. "Why are you in a daze?" Shirniange turned to look at him and instinctively took the water. She instinctively took a sip and then reacted. Didn't he say he wanted to drink water? Why did he give it to her after opening it? When she looked again, he had already picked up another bottle, opened it and drank it. Seeing him drink and swallow, Shirniange felt her throat start to burn again, especially in this KTV private room. The lights were flickering and the atmosphere was different from when she was in school or outside. His words echoed in her mind again. "Didn't you say you missed me?" She said she missed him, so he came? Was he hinting at something? Almighty Qin. She sat by his side, thought for a moment and decided to find a topic. Before she could finish speaking, he interrupted her softly. "Qin Sighting. Did he mean that he didn't like her calling him Almighty Qin and wanted her to call him by his real name?" Qin Sighting. Shirniange moved closer to his side. Seeing that he had no intention of avoiding her, she whispered by his side, "Your place is quite far from here, right? I remember that every time you go back it's not too close." He put down the mineral water bottle and did not answer. He turned his head and looked at her intently, waiting for her to continue asking. Seeing that he was looking at her, Nianj revealed a chuckle. She stared into his eyes and asked, I mean, you live so far away and you don't have to go to school at night. You specially came here, because I missed you? She had already spoken very implicitly, although she actually wanted to ask him openly, Qin Siding, do you like me a little? However, there were many people here. No matter how thick-skinned she was, she had to at least restrain herself. In the end, the clean young man in front of her suddenly raised his hand and stroked her head, pushing away the bangs on her forehead that had just covered her eyes. Jin Shui, Zhao Xiaoqing, and a few other girls, including a few men present, were shocked to see Qin Siding's actions. Nianj's heart was beating like a drum. Chapter 1498. Why else would I come? He smiled and moved his hand away from her head. Just this sentence was enough to make Nianj blush and her heart warm. She felt as though she was about to melt by his side. She had never joked about love, and she could tell that Qin Siding was not the kind of person who would joke about such things. His gaze just now was clearly focused on her. Because she missed him, he came. If she hadn't said that she missed him, why would he have come? After everyone left the KTV, Qin Siding sent her to the taxi. Before he closed the door, her heart was still burning. She quickly raised her head to look at him. Qin Siding had just picked up a call. Although he had hung up, she heard his phone vibrating in his pocket, but he did not pick it up. She was still looking at him, her eyes bright. Qin Siding told the driver the address of Lishui Villa and then glanced at her. Go back. Be careful. She nodded. For some reason she suddenly recalled that Uncle Qin had said that the 4 big families in High City seemed to be the investors of Lishui Villa. She wondered if the Qin family had any shares. If he wanted to buy a villa in Lishui Villa, it should be easy. The villa opposite her had always been empty. If he could live in it, it would be great if they could go to school together and go home together every day. Of course, it was just a thought. Earlier in the KTV, because Qin Siding was here, Jin Shui and the others suddenly became much gentler and quieter. They did not speak much, but they still wanted to show off. They ordered a few more songs. Hao Xiosha and the others also ran out to join in the fun, causing the private room to be noisy. After a while, they came to pull Nianj over to play with them. Qin Siding only sat by the side and watched them. He did not participate in anything. It was obvious that he was very tired today, so no one dared to force him. Therefore they did not chat much after that. Now she was going home. She was unwilling. She wanted to get out of the car to chat with him for a while before going back, but when she heard that the phone in his pocket was still vibrating, she did not say much. She only waved at him in the car. See you tomorrow, Qin Siding. He smiled and helped her close the car door. At noon the next day, Zhao Xiaoqing had a stomachache because of her period. Nianj went to the school supermarket to help her buy a heat pack. In the end, the heat packs in the supermarket were sold out, so she had no choice but to go out of the school to buy them. At noon, there were always many students walking around outside the school. Many boys would usually hide outside and smoke at this time. Many people gathered in a small square in front of the school. Unless necessary, Nianj would usually stay in school. She rarely left the school at noon. Just as she was about to go to the supermarket, she passed by a small square with a lot of people in front of her. Suddenly, a puff of smoke was directly sprayed on her face. She turned around and saw that it was a few hooligans from grade 12, class 2. She didn't say anything and just assumed that they didn't mean it. She turned sideways and was about to walk past the small square. Yo, isn't this the medical genius who skipped a grade to grade 12? Someone with a cigarette in his mouth stopped in front of her, blocking her way. Younger than us by a year, right? Little sister, do you want a cigarette? I don't smoke. Move aside. Nianj's expression was cold as she pushed the person in front of her away. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. There's still an hour before class starts. Why are you in such a hurry? The person sprayed another puff of smoke at her face. Brothers, we haven't eaten lunch yet. Do you want to treat us to a meal? This group of people was probably related to Tang Xiao or the class belle of their class, Suichi. After all, they were in the same class. They had probably heard of something. Although they didn't come to stop her on purpose, it was clear that they wanted to make things difficult for her the moment they saw her. Nianj was unwilling to talk to them. Without saying a word, she turned to leave. However, they had no intention of letting her leave so easily. They suddenly reached out and grabbed her arm. Why are you leaving? We really haven't eaten yet. Let's go together? Previously, when you were with Tang Xiao, weren't you quite polite to our brothers in class too? What happened now? Broke up? You don't even look us in the eye? So Miss Sure is actually so arrogant? Shirniange could not take it anymore. She looked impatient. Are you crazy? Tisk, why are you scolding me? It's rare for us to meet Miss Sure. She usually takes out all her money to play games and doesn't have any money to eat. Is she planning to freeload on you? The man chuckled. Besides, I see that you're usually quite impolite to our class, Suichi. Why are you pretending to be weak and pitiful? As expected, it had something to do with that bullsh T-class bell. What nonsense was she spouting outside again? She had almost forgotten about this person. How did it become her being impolite to Suichi? Shirniange didn't want to talk to them anymore. She swung her arm. Let go. Seeing that her expression was calm and neither servile nor overbearing. She was not overly angry or afraid, she really did not take them seriously. Originally, they only wanted to scare her as a warning to this spoiled young miss. Of course, they did not dare to do anything else. After all, no one had the guts to go against the famous Shida group in High City. Furthermore, they heard that Shirniange seemed to be quite close to Almighty Qin recently. If she had any relationship with Almighty Qin, it would be equivalent to having the Qin family behind her. It would be even more difficult to provoke her. Seeing that she was really not affected, the man wanted to spit a mouthful of smoke at her face. This time Shirniange took a step back and dodged. She shook her arm and left. Although she was not affected, her mood was still not good. After going to the supermarket outside the school to buy a heat pack for Zhao Xiaoqing, she placed the heat pack on her table and went to the bathroom to wash her face. After washing a few times, she still felt the smell of smoke on her body. She hated it so much that when she returned to class and sat down, her expression was still not good. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Seeing that she had been sitting there, Zhao Xiaoqing gently poked her and asked, "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Have you eaten?" "No, I'm not hungry," Shirniange replied in a low voice. In the end, Qin Siding, who had just returned, happened to hear this. Qin Siding stood in the aisle between the tables and chairs in front of her and glanced at her. He did not come over to sit down and turn to leave. 10 minutes later, he returned with a vacuum-packed sandwich cake and a bottle of hot milk. He did not say anything and only placed it on the table in front of her. She looked up and saw it, then turned to look at him. "Eat." He did not say much and only said these 2 words before sitting down. If she did not eat, her stomach would indeed hurt, but she did not want to tell him that she did not eat. She did not expect him to buy some simple food for her when he heard it. Chapter 1499. It was almost time for class, and it was indeed not convenient for her to go out to eat. However, looking at the small cake with a layer of fruit and milk, Shirniange's mood, which had been affected by the hooligans from class 2, finally improved. She ate the cake and drank the milk. She was just full. A piece of cake would not be very full. Her mouth was sweet and her mood soared. The bell rang. She placed the milk bottle under the table. Seeing that she had finished eating and drinking, Qin Siding asked her, "What happened at noon?" She thought of the hooligans she had met outside the school and shook her head. "Nothing." Qin Siding looked at her face. "Unhappy?" "No." Shirniange changed the book for this class and smiled at him. "I really didn't." Seeing that she didn't want to say anything, Qin Siding did not ask further. However, her mood did seem much better than before. Shirniange was not a person who liked to get angry. Under normal circumstances, as long as she did not touch her bottom line, even if she was angry, it would only be a matter of a few minutes. She had just eaten the cake and drank the milk. Not long after class, she forgot all about her anger. When she was no longer angry, she recalled Qin Siding's words in the KTV last night. That's right. She still hadn't asked him what he meant. However, from that day onwards, every time she went out at noon, Qin Siding, who usually spoke little, would ask, "Where are you going?" When she said that she was going to the school cafeteria with Zhao Xiaoqing, he stood up and let her out. If she said that she wanted to go out to buy something or take a walk with Zhao Xiaoqing, he would throw her a few papers or the questions she had misanswered in the previous mock exam. He did not let her go out and only gave her time to eat in school. He did not give her any chance to leave the school. Once she had to go out to buy something. Qin Siding knew that she had to go out and did not stop her. He only said that he was going out too and that it was on the way. As expected, she saw those hooligans outside the school gates. Their gazes shifted in this direction, and when they saw Qin Siding by her side, they immediately stood obediently in the small square and smoked. None of them dared to come over to cause trouble, and no one said anything. Just like that, he, coincidentally, accompanied her out a few times. After more than a week, Shirniange realized that those people were no longer blocking her outside. This half a month passed in a flash. It was getting closer and closer to the college entrance examination. Nianj felt a little tired from reviewing the papers every day. On Sunday she still only had half a day off in the afternoon. She only wanted to go home and sleep. But on Sunday noon she suddenly died again. As it was almost time for school to end at noon on Sunday, the teacher gave them a list of books and asked them to borrow some books from the provincial library to review. She said that there might be questions in these books that were closer to this year's and previous year's college entrance examinations. Of course, it was just the teacher's intuition telling them what questions would be this year. It was not certain if there would be questions in the future, but since the teacher had already said so, they had to read these books. After all, she had been to the library with Qin Siding. She asked him directly, "Are you going in the afternoon?" Qin Siding said, "I'm free in the afternoon. I can go take a look." "Then, can I go with you?" she asked. Qin Siding picked up his shoulder bag. "Let's go." "So straightforward?" Without another word, Nianj quickly picked up her bag and followed him. 2. Chapter 1500. What about you? Are you sure? Qin Siding did not answer but asked her. "Me, I've already confirmed it. Medical university. Anyway, the best medical university in our country is in High City. My grandfather happens to be a guest professor there. I don't have to be too far away from him. I can continue living in High City." Nianj smiled as she spoke. "Am I a little too content with the present? Even Hao Xiuxia's target is the various universities in Beijing. Class Monitor and the others are targeting many universities in the country and abroad. I'm the only one who wants to stay in High City to study medicine." Qin Siding was silent for a moment. He waved for the waiter to come over and fill the water. Then he suddenly said, "I'm sure too." Where do you want to go?" Nianj looked at him curiously. In fact, when she asked this, she was smiling on the surface, but her heart was sour. No matter where he chose to go, he would definitely be far away from her. It was really hard to say if she would have the chance to see him in the future. Life was not a television drama. Even if she could give up her dream of studying medicine and her grandfather's expectations for her because she liked someone, her academic results could not keep up. Even though she had started working hard a long time ago, from the second year of high school to the third year of high school, most of her time was spent on supplementary classes. No matter what, it was impossible for her to catch up to Qin Siding's footsteps. Therefore she was more self-aware. Furthermore, her grandfather had been waiting for her to go to the medical university. She did like this clean young man in front of her, but her grandfather had been waiting for her to grow up and study medicine since she was a few years old. He even said that he wanted to see her become a famous doctor in her lifetime. Although the love of youth was precious, she could not disappoint her grandfather. Therefore, if there was really something that she could not force, she might as well not ask. She did not want to affect others' paths, nor did she want to make things difficult for them. Qin Siding's future path would definitely be bright. Perhaps one day they would meet again. At that time they would still be sitting in the same restaurant with smiles on their faces. He just didn't know when that day would come in the future, and what kind of status they would have at that time. Qin Siding did not answer. He only saw that her eyes lit up and dim, as though she wanted to say something but could not. "You will know," was his only answer. Yes, it was useless to know now. Even if she knew, it would only make her realize how far apart she was from him. She would know sooner or later, so what was there to ask now? Nianj quickly got up and went to the buffet area to get other food. Not long after she sat down to eat, her phone suddenly rang. It was her aunt who had just returned from abroad and passed by High City. She still had to go to a city in the north to do something. She said that she had bought some gifts for her to come out and take them. Her aunt's car happened to be nearby. If she went out, she would be back in less than half an hour, so she went straight to her aunt's car. After seeing her aunt handed her a bag. Inside were all kinds of food and toys that little girls liked, especially chocolate. When Nianj was young, she liked to eat chocolate. When she grew up, it was fine. She didn't eat it often. She thanked her aunt and sat together to chat for a while before her aunt drove away because she was in a hurry to catch a plane. On the way back, her phone rang again. He picked it up and saw that it was a call from Qin Siding. She quickly picked it up. She felt that when she picked up the phone, her breathing rate changed. "Hello, Qin Siding." Qin Siding responded in a low voice. "You're back." And then, "I'm already heading back. I'll be there in a few minutes. I have to make you wait for me for a meal. I'm sorry." Nianj quickly walked back. "All right, be careful." All right. In fact, she couldn't bear to hang up. It turned out that Qin Siding's voice came from the phone like this. It was low, very seductive. Nianj ran on the road and jogged back. When she entered the Japanese buffet restaurant, she was still panting. She ran to the table and quickly sat down, placing the small bag filled with food and gifts to the side. I'm not rushing you. Why are you running? Seeing that she was panting and her face was red, Qin Siding frowned slightly. Nianj chuckled. I'm hungry. Hurry up and eat. I still have to go to the library later. Qin Siding nodded. I've eaten. That's right. She had been out for more than half an hour. There were many hot dishes that she could eat immediately. Thankfully, she did not order much earlier. Before she could speak, the waiter brought up the same hot dishes as before. It was obvious that Qin Siding had ordered them for her after hanging up. She thanked him and quickly ate, not wasting any more time. After dinner, the two of them went to the provincial library. As expected, they met several classmates from the same world as them. Everyone listened to their teacher and came here to look for books. Although there was more than one revision book, there couldn't be too many. Nianj began to worry. Did we come too late? What if the books teacher Zhao mentioned have already been borrowed? No. Qin Siding walked in and headed straight for the bookshelves he had gone to the last time he came. Nianj quickly followed. If he said he wouldn't, then he really wouldn't. In the end, the books that he had read the last time he came were actually one of the books that the teacher had mentioned. He accurately found the position of those books. They were placed at the highest point. Many students didn't see them when they were searching here. Qin Siding directly handed them to her. What about you? She asked. I saw it last time. I don't need it. After Qin Siding finished speaking, he went to the bookshelf a few rows away. Nianj thought that he was looking for other books, but she saw him pick up a medical book and walk over. He sat on a seat not far away. Seeing the book in his hand, Nianj was surprised. She took her book and walked over. She wanted to ask something, but she felt that he must have found the German doctor's book she had read last time interesting. There was nothing to read now, so he randomly found the same author to write it. Although she had questions, she did not ask. She quietly sat down and began to read and revise. It was already late when she rushed over in the afternoon. After reading for more than 2 hours, it was already evening outside. Nianj's neck hurt from reading. She raised her head and rubbed her nose. Then she narrowed her eyes and smiled at Qin Siding, who had also raised his head. Qin Siding looked into her eyes and did not speak. After a long time, she realized that he was still reading a medical book. She could not help but ask, "Is the book you're reading interesting?" Chapter 1502. Qin Siding glanced at the things on the table. He did not accept them or ask anyone to take them away. He just sat down. Nianj saw that he was in a good mood today. He actually did not return the gifts that those people had placed on his table. She took advantage of the atmosphere of the college entrance examination to sit down and whispered to him, "Almighty Qin, everyone is giving each other graduation gifts. We've been desk mates for so long. What are you going to give me?" In fact, she was really joking. She was already very happy to be able to see him every day. How could she dare to ask him for a gift? However, Qin Siding did not answer immediately. It was raining outside the window. The June rain carried a hint of coolness into the classroom, causing everyone's heart to feel as though it had been cleansed, clean and clear. All right, I'm just joking. I'm not thick-skinned enough to ask for a gift. Actually, after graduation you just need to write me a message. I promise I'll keep it in my photo frame for a lifetime. After the college entrance examination I'll give you a gift, Qin Siding suddenly said, interrupting her. Nianj didn't expect him to really give her a gift. For a moment she didn't know if she should be ashamed or excited or both. In any case, when she met Qin Siding's gaze, her entire heart floated up and then sank to the bottom. The gift after the college entrance examination was equivalent to the gift before they parted. In the future, would they have a chance to meet again? The day before the college entrance examination, the teacher said that everyone should go home to pack their things and rest for a day. They could revise at home or go out to relax. They would come back the next day to take the college entrance examination. Nianj did not have the mood to revise at all. When she was free she would still read those medical books. However, after resting for an entire day she was actually thinking about whether Qin Siding planned to revise at home or go out to do something. Thus, after school on the way back she followed him and suddenly asked him, "Qin Siding, are you busy tomorrow?" Qin Siding turned to look at her and said, "I'm fine." Her eyes instantly lit up again. After the college entrance examination, we will officially enter the ranks of adults. Tomorrow is the last day of our childhood. Do you want to go to the amusement park? Qin Siding clearly did not understand her reason, but he only raised his brows. Seeing that he did not speak, she said frankly, I want to go. Hearing these words, Qin Siding smiled lightly. All right. The rest day before the college entrance examination happened to be a weekend. When Shinianj went out, she found that there were many people everywhere. She followed Qin Siding on the bus to the newly opened amusement park in the suburbs. There were always many people in newly opened places, especially those who brought their children there. The two of them sat at the back. She sat inside and Qin Siding sat outside. The air conditioner in the car was very comfortable. Shinianj suddenly said to Qin Siding, "Can we change seats?" Qin Siding looked at her. "What?" "Nothing, I just want to change seats." Qin Siding did at Siding Qin Siding and said, "Siding at." Qin, at Siding at. After Shinianj sat outside, she raised her eyes to look at the woman in her 20s who had been standing by the side because there was no seat. She smiled at her kindly. Earlier, because this woman was leaning against Qin Siding, she had deliberately pushed him down a few times. Although she did not go overboard and only made people feel that the car was too crowded, Qin Siding simply avoided her. After that, the woman simply placed her hands behind the back of his chair. She felt that she wanted to take advantage of some good-looking young man. Moreover, the woman was holding a cup of milk tea in her hand. Who knew if she would accidentally spill the milk tea on him and then help him wipe his clothes and pants? Before that, she felt that it was better for her to sit outside with the woman. Seeing that she was sitting outside with that good-looking young man, and from the looks of it, they seemed to be in love, the woman's gaze turned awkward. She turned to the side and squeezed to the railing by the side, not continuing to walk in this direction. Shinianj retracted her gaze in satisfaction and turned to look at Qin Siding's understanding expression. "We're almost there." Seeing that she was sparing no effort to protect him, Qin Siding smiled and nodded. The place they were going to was equivalent to a newly developed tourist attraction in the sea. This place was very big, and there were amusement parks and other places worth visiting and eating. It was said that there was also a large ski resort inside, but it was closed in the summer and could only be opened in the winter. Although Shinianj was the young lady of the Shi family, her parents were too busy, and her grandfather was also busy. Uncle Qin and Auntie Xiang also had their own family and children. They were busy at the Shi family during work hours, and when they were free they would definitely go back to accompany their family. Thus, in fact, she had never been to these amusement parks. Even if she came, she would only stop by. No one had specially stayed to play with her. In her heart, she was actually looking forward to it. There were quite a lot of fun here. She had originally planned to stroll around and go to the amusement park in the afternoon. Otherwise, she would not be in the mood to stroll around after sweating all over. After getting out of the car, she had been holding Qin Siding's wrist. Qin Siding did not let go. In fact, when there were too many people, she was almost squeezed to the ground and he reached out to hug her back. This was the third time she had accidentally bumped into his arms. Shinianj was already very calm. Although she was still a little happy, at least her face would not keep heating up. There are really so many people today. The weather is good, and it's a new scenic spot. Many people bring children and the elderly. There's not even a place to sit, Shinianj said as she walked in. You don't like crowds? It's not too late to change places, Qin Siding said. There's no need to change. At most I'll queue up at every place. It's fine. I can experience it. Shinianj was still very excited. She then turned back and said, I remember that you don't like places with too many people. Today I insisted on taking that direct train here. At that time there were already a lot of people. Now it's crowded. You don't mind, do you? Qin Siding said, It's fine. I didn't expect there to be so many people. Otherwise I would have asked Uncle Qin to send us. Shinianj narrowed her eyes and smiled. But it feels good to squeeze on the bar with you. I wonder if I'll have the chance to experience it together in the future. After saying this, she regretted it. For some reason she felt a little shameless. What about her purpose of meeting him after graduation? But she did have this plan in the first place. Chapter 1503. In the end, Qin Siding said, There will be. Shinianj's heart was filled with joy. Right now, she was in high spirits as she tugged at his wrist and continued walking inside. I heard from the people who came out earlier that there seemed to be a few places to see animals. There are also peacocks. Do you want to go take a look? She turned back and asked. Qin Siding replied, All right. There were really peacocks and monkey mountains inside. She did not expect there to be pandas. She asked the staff inside and said that because the scenic spot was newly opened, they had invited a few pandas to support the scene. 3 months later they would be sent back to their original cities. Today was the first day of the pandas opening, so there were many people. Seeing so many people inside, Shirnianj frowned. She thought for a moment and said, "Why don't we come back later? There are too many people here today." She really wanted to see, but she was afraid that Qin Siding would feel that there were too many people and that he would be impatient. However, Qin Siding held her hand and led her into the crowd. "It's okay. Let's go take a look." Shirnianj was led in by him. From time to time she would look at the crowd around her and then up at his face. Qin Siding really did not have any impatience. It was as though he did not have the coldness and indifference that others often mentioned on his face. At the very least, in front of her, Qin Siding was no longer as cold as when they first met. Actually, he was very warm. Once again, he brought her to avoid the crowd that was walking anxiously by the side. He held her in his arms and finally walked to the visitation area inside. She could finally see the panda eating bamboo inside. She had been well protected along the way and was not pushed by the crowd. At this moment, the two pandas inside suddenly snatched the same bamboo. Everyone was watching and laughing. The children patted the glass of the visitation area and kept laughing and screaming. It was very noisy and lively here. Shirnianj lowered her head and saw that her and Qin Siding's hands were holding each other's. To be precise, Qin Siding had been holding her hand. He had been holding her hand. Because the two pandas were fighting for the bamboo, their position had moved slightly. The crowd also moved in that direction. Once the crowd moved, they had to move as well. At this moment, Shirnianj did not even know how to move her legs. She only moved her fingers slightly, but Qin Siding held her hand even tighter. Damn it, what was the point of watching animals play in an amusement park? What if she fainted here? She took 2 deep breaths and tried her best to calm herself down. Her face should not be red right now. She was trying her best to remain calm, but how could Qin Siding remain so calm? Did he really not have any distracting thoughts? Did he simply not want her to fall and felt that it would be more convenient to walk together like this? Shirnianj let out a long breath. Forget it, she wouldn't think about it anymore. She gently returned his hand. The two of them walked hand in hand for a long time until they walked out of the animal exhibition area and headed for the amusement park on the other side. Only then did Shirnianj let go of his hand reluctantly. When she put her hand into her pocket, she felt that her palm was still warm. The main reason was that the space inside was small and there were many people. No one noticed anything when they held hands. Now that they were out, holding hands like this would be too eye-catching. Furthermore, there didn't seem to be any reason to keep holding hands. She actually wanted to hold hands, but she felt that someone like Qin Siding definitely wouldn't like others to keep looking at him. 2 children ran over crazily. Seeing that they were about to touch Qin Siding, Shirnianj quickly squatted down to catch them. She blocked them in front of her and rubbed their little heads with a smile. "Be careful when you walk." The 2 children glanced at her, grinned, and turned to run away. The tickets to the amusement park were interconnected. They could go to all the places they wanted to go. There were many people outside and there were many people in the amusement park. However, at least there was a place to sit and rest. The weather was a little hot. There was a dessert and cold drink area in the amusement park. There was an awning below. Qin Siding did not say that he was tired, but Shirnianj was really tired and thirsty. She pulled him over to sit down and ordered a fruit smoothie and a small cake to eat. Of course, she ate almost all the cake herself. Qin Siding did not eat much of the fruit smoothie. He asked for a bottle of mineral water. From this, Shirnianj silently remembered that Qin Siding did not like sweets. Zhao Shaoqing sent a message asking where she was. Shirnianj directly replied truthfully. Following that, Zhao Shaoqing called. "Oh my god, you're at the amusement park with Almighty Qin?" Shirnianj was silently a little happy. Not only were they at the amusement park, but they had even held hands and walked together for a long time. She smiled and answered, "And are you revising at home?" "I'm not. I'm accompanying my mother out to buy things. If you're at home, I'll go look for you. However, since you're outside with Almighty Qin, I won't be a third wheel." "No, you usually sit behind us. There's no difference. We're already used to being together." "I don't want to. Watching the two of you show off your love, I'll die of jealousy. I'll accompany my mother to buy things first. All the best for tomorrow's college entrance examination. And then, all the best tomorrow." After hanging up the phone, Shirnianj looked up at the person sitting opposite her. Qin Siding was also looking at her. She didn't press the speakerphone button, did she? He probably didn't hear what Zhao Shaoqing said about being a third wheel, right? "Why aren't you eating?" he asked. Shirnianj glanced at the fruit smoothie on the table. "This portion is too much. I was hot and thirsty earlier, but I can't finish so much. It's too cold. It's fine if I eat a few bites. If I eat more, my stomach will hurt." And then don't eat. Qin Sighting asked again, "What's the matter?" He was probably referring to the phone call she had just received. Thus he probably didn't hear what Zhao Xiaoqing said on the phone. She also said that if I really can't perform well, I have to find another way out. I asked her if she wanted to study medicine, but she said that she would be so scared that she wouldn't be able to sleep well at night when she saw a replica of a human skeleton. She felt that she might not be able to enter the medical industry, so I didn't continue talking to her about this topic. Anyway, being a doctor is indeed very tiring. Indeed, not everyone likes this profession. Qin Sighting's expression was indifferent and he did not say anything. Let's go. We haven't played any of the tickets to the amusement park in the afternoon. Shirniange was cool now and no longer thirsty. She stood up. She asked again, "What do you like to play?" Qin Sighting said, "I've never been here before. I'm just taking a look. You decide." Everyone try and see if you can comment? A few days ago the comment section was under maintenance. No one could leave comments. Qing felt that she was playing alone. She was so lonely that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.